So my name is Carlos Garcia. I'm a medical doctor, so I'm an MD. And I am the medical director for Utopia Wellness and Cancer Center, which is located in Tampa, Florida. And I went to school at the University of Massachusetts Medical School. I then went to Hahnemann University and became an anesthesiologist. I injured my hand. My hand prevented me, or the injury prevented me from being able to be reinsured. So my anesthesia career came to an abrupt halt, which was not part of the game plan. And I was very young. I was like 39 and a half years of age. After surgeries and rehab and all the other aspects associated with any major surgical intervention, I was advised that I was not insurable anymore because my hand was injured. And so therefore, not only was my career terminated because of the injury, but because of the lack of insurability. So I started doing silly things. I mean, after all, I was only 39 and a half and single. And so my friends noticed that I was making relatively silly choices because I had nothing to do with my life. And so they said, you need to go and get a job. I said, I really don't. And they said, you really do. And because of this, and this, you're really needing to get a job. And he said, no, we have one for you. I said, really, where? It's a chelation clinic. I said, what in blazes is chelation? Well, we really don't know, but whatever it is, just go do it because you need to do something. You need a schedule. So I went there and I sat down and I really didn't know what I was doing. And people were talking about vitamin C and vitamin Bs and all these things. And I heard these terms before, but they're not in my wheelhouse. And so I sat there, and one of the things that we always do is take the blood pressures of patients and monitor them and do blood work and so forth. And I noticed that people's blood pressures began to drop, and if they had type 2 diabetes, the requirements of medications, and sometimes all their medications were stopped. And so I went in with the attitude that this is all BS because that's what I'm taught. Everything that you need to know is taught in the U.S. medical schools. Turned out that I'd been lied to. And so then I started to open up my eyes. I came across an organization called ACAM, which stands for the American Academy for the Advancement of Medicine. They gave me a foundation, and then upon that I grew my fund of knowledge on my own because there's no other way to learn except by going out there and beating the bushes. The internet was in its infancy, so you had to dial up. You had, I think, a 1200 baud modem was like, the speed of light at the time. And then I just learned and studied and learned and studied. Truth be told, I've learned more from my patients than they have from me, I suspect. Now, during my studies, I came across a lovely lady named Hulda Clark. Hulda Clark should have changed her name to Hulda Parasite because everything was a parasitic infection to Hulda. Now, I believe, based on my readings, that viruses, bacteria, and parasites can be pleomorphic, which is a fancy way of saying they can change. And it may explain why it is that it reacts, for example, to chemo initially, cancer cells, and then it stops reacting to chemo because it morphs, because it wants to live. I believe that what we call cancer has its own electrical grid that's not on the immune system's radar screen. And when it is, the immune system reacts to it and keeps us healthy. I believe that people have cancer throughout their lifetimes, come and go, but their immune system keeps them healthy until it doesn't. It's the why it doesn't that is of interest clinically for me. And so when we start talking about root causes, I think it's a multifactorial aspect that leads to the debilitation of the immune system. I don't so much blame the microorganisms. I look at cancer as an immune deficiency. So the question is, why is the immune system deficient? As far as I'm concerned, I don't care if it's because of your teeth. I don't care if it's because of your emotions. I don't care if it's because of your food. I don't care if it's because you have parasitic infections or other kinds of infections that may be found. Its question is, what's caused that immune system to go down the tubes? If we're going to understand cancer, we need to understand why the immune system has failed us. And then we need to figure out how it all combines. One of the problems that we're facing is that we do body parts.
So that's one of the reasons I combined a lot of the different practitioners into my facility. So you're going to get your colon therapy in my facility, the massage therapies in my facility. I've had chiropractors come to my facility. We do the emotional work in the facility. We do the physical work as far as hyperbaric chambers, far red infrared saunas, and other infusions at the clinic so that we can build up that immune system. But we need to find out what caused it to go sideways so that it doesn't. And more importantly, so that you understand what it is that is toxic in your environment. Because the very first thing I tell everybody, besides say good morning to yourself, is your environment that you came from is the most toxic environment that you'll ever face again. Because the people that you live around have facilitated what we call cancer. And that's one of the things that people have to look at. And when we do the Wednesday talks at Utopia, we talk about the woman who gets a call at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to go bake 500 cupcakes because her friend wants to go out on a Saturday night date, and the other person now has decided to be manipulated into doing the 500 cupcakes because they all know that without those 500 cupcakes, the church is going to close. And so the other lady takes off, and this woman does 500 cupcakes, and in the morning, she's exhausted, and the other lady is freshened up. And by the way, she'll take part of the credit, if not all of it. One of the things that I've noticed about cancer patients is that they have a very low sense of self, by and large. That's why saying good morning to yourself is a very good start at acknowledging that you exist. People will say to their kids, almost robotically, to their spouses, usually, but they never say it to themselves. And after all, the only person who's ever been stuck with you all your life is you. So perhaps you might want to say hi. Because if you've got cancer, you haven't found you. You're lost.